Okay, the first thing I did was got a piece of cherry wood from a local hardwood store, and I picked out a piece that looks real nice. It's got some real quality markings to it, and from here I figure the tabletop is going to be about 20 inches by 12, so I'm going to have to cross cut this about 40 inches. Why 40 inches? Because I'm going to take the two pieces. I'm going to cut 40, this is 40 inches, then I'm going to cut this in half, and that'll give me about 20 inches long, and this is only 7 wide, so I need about 12 inches wide, so I got to glue the two pieces together. Okay, both pieces have been run through the planer. Now I put them back together to match the grain of wood, and if you noticed, I have some arrows on there. Well, the purpose of that is, first of all, see how I matched the grain? That shows where I cut it. It shows that these are was one solid piece. So now I put arrows this direction for the purpose of when I rip these down to 3 inches, I want to flip each other piece over so the grain is oppositely running on the table. When I build the tabletop, the grain it'll give it a character design, plus it prevents it from warping. But the top here is so small it probably wouldn't warp anyway, but it gives it a character design. Okay, the next step is I'm going to send this edge through the jointer to square up the one edge. And then I'm going to go ahead and rip it down probably 3 inches. So I'm going to get a 3 and a 3, 3 and a 3 out of this. Okay, got it really good. I ran it to a couple more times on the joiner. Now I got no chips or anything in it. Both pieces are ready. From this point, the ends that were actually jointed will be setting against the rip fence on the table saw. From there I'm going to set it to about 3 inches, so I'm going to cut out 2 3-inch pieces on each one. Okay, I ran them through the table saw. I got about 3 inches on every one. Here's the leftover pieces from that. Now I'm going to send it to the joiner. Now this edge only has to be done on this side because this was done already, but these two here, both sides have to be jointed, and then this on just one side. Okay, so let's get those jointed. If you notice here, you got that first board, the arrows running one way, then the next board, the opposite direction, so on and so forth. Now the grain is running each other way, which will prevent this from warping, which it probably won't because it's so small anyway, but it'll give character design to the top itself. Now I got the glue clamp set up. The middle one's down because I don't want it to interfere. Okay, I got her set up, so from this point I'm going to go ahead and put glue on both surfaces with a brush, not your fingers. From there we're going to clamp it, so let's get that going. Okay, got all the glue on. Now we want to go ahead and put them up. Okay, arrows run this way, so on and so forth. Okay, good. Last thing you want to do before you let it sit for 24 hours is go ahead and snug all your clamps down pretty firm, but not too tight because you don't want to squeeze all the glue out. So get them firm. From there you take a damp rag and wipe all the glue off both sides of it. Okay, from that point, just check your clamps again. Make sure the wood is resting on the clamps best as you can. If you look here, going across, you're not going to get it perfect, but get it as close as you can. All right, from that point, now we're going to let it sit for 24 hours. It's been 24 hours now. It's time to take off the clamps. All right, looking good. So my next step is to send it through the planer, and I'm just going to take off very little each time. I might have to send it through 3 or 4 each time, through each side. Send it through to get it just smooth enough, but not take off too much wood yet. Okay, so let's get over there and plane this down. Okay, I'm going to take my 7 1/4 inch circular saw, and I'm going to go ahead and remove this edge. Now what I did was, this is unplugged of course, I made sure that this was 90 degrees with the blade. I checked, and the depth is probably 3/8 lower than the wood. Okay, the second step is to get this 90 with this, and how much I want to take off here. So it's about 5 1/4 inches to here, so it'll remove just enough to square this up. So what I did is I put the square on my straight edge and I ran it up until it touched all the way down. Now I know it's square. Okay, so from there I'm going to put the clamp on it. I'm going to clamp it down real tight. You don't want this straight edge to move at all. So tighten both clamps real tight. And from there I'm going to be sending it through, just cutting off enough to get it 90 degrees. Okay, I got the other side done too on this, so we'll take off the clamps. Now there's reason why I didn't get this to the thickness I wanted yet, because if you noticed what it does to the wood when you cut it, you got all these little chips on here. Okay, so when I send it back through the planer, it's going to remove all this. Now see that chip sitting? I don't know if you can see that or not. There's a little chip out of here. So once I replane this to the thickness I need it, all that will be removed. Now you notice I sent this through the jointer. I'm only taking off probably the thickness of a piece of paper each time. So if you have to run it through it each time, maybe 4 or 5 times, that's fine. Do not take off much at all, okay, because it will splinter and chip. So be real careful. Now, if you get over here, say you got the whole thing jointed and you get over here and this is split, because you send it through this way, go ahead and send the edges through again until you get it really looking good on all corners. All right, the next step is I'm going to send, this will be my top. I decided because of the grain this will be the top. I'm going to send this through my planer again until I get it really smooth, just enough to get it smooth, and then from there we're going to put a design on it. Okay, I sent this through the planer and I got it ready to go. It's nice and smooth, just the top only. I did not do the bottom. Now why did I do this? Imagine if I didn't do it and then I go ahead and take my router and put my edges around it. Well, you got little drop-offs. These are going to put little drop-offs in a curve. So if I did that, then send it through, the planer, it's going to remove the drop off. It might remove half of it or maybe all of it. So that's why I did the top first. Now, the other reason I'm leaving it as thick as I can, because I'm going to take the router here. Now, if you notice the bearing up here, say I already did it to a 1/2 inch. Well, what's going to happen is the bearing is barely touching the wood, and that's not good. You want the whole bearing to touch the wood, so that's why I'm leaving it thick, so I can go around, and then from there I can plane the bottom up until I get to the thickness I want. Now, I'm not going to take off the entire thing at one sweep. I'm going to hire this up, and I'm going to just take off maybe that much at first, go around the whole thing, and then lower it and do it again. You don't want to take the whole thing off at once. It tends to heat up the bearing, heat up the blade, stuff like that, burns it, stuff like that. So you just want to remove a little at a time. Okay, let's get that going. Okay, I got this set up. Now the blade spins counterclockwise, okay? So when you feed it in here, go around the wood counterclockwise when cutting. Don't go this way. You want to start and go this direction, counterclockwise, okay? Okay, I went around the whole thing with about a half cut on this. Now I'm going to lower it down and do a full cut of the full design. And from there, you want to take your time. Remember to go counterclockwise, cutting it counterclockwise. Now once you get it pretty well cut, you can go back and forth. It's just the main cuts you want to go counterclockwise. We now have our design. You noticed how it looks up? See, the bearing rode across this the whole time, so that's good. Now, when the engrave, take your time and don't cut it fast at all because it's so hard. But never stop. Just slowly graze it as you go through. I'm going to go ahead and send it through the planer one time, just removing probably the thickness of a piece of paper, just so it takes this off. If you see what the router did, it leaves a little, especially on the engrave, what it does that. So I'm going to send it through and it'll just remove that. Okay, this far as I'm going to go with this right now. I haven't done no sanding or nothing, but it's looking pretty good. It might be a little thick, but the next thing I do is I got to design the runner that's going to go across here and around, and I'm guessing probably about 2.5 inches, so I'm going to go ahead and get that going.